In the latest twist in the Russia investigation, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani will be joining President Trump's legal defense team. The move comes amid bipartisan calls in the Senate to pass a bill to protect special counsel Robert Mueller. A short time ago, I spoke with the vice chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, and I began by asking about the addition of Giuliani.
Well, the president's legal team seems to expand and contract on almost a weekly basis. I had a lot of respect for Mr. Giuliani when he was a prosecutor and was mayor of New York. I didn't know he'd been an actively practicing law. I thought he'd been a consultant the last decade plus, but Mr. Trump has an ability to hire whoever he wants. At the end of the day, I hope this will also mean that Mr. Trump is going to go ahead and allow the Mueller investigation to continue unimpeded, because at the end of the day, Americans deserve the answer from his investigation and, frankly, from our Senate intelligence investigation as well.
Well, speaking of the Mueller investigation, you and other bipartisan senators are supporting legislation to protect Robert Mueller's job. Why?
Well, Judy, over the last year, we've seen this president turn his ire on anybody that crosses him. We've seen him attack Comey. We've seen him attack Mueller. His own original Attorney General, Mr. Sessions, had to recuse himself because he was involved with some of these Russian activities. And we set up this special prosecutor to be independent and overseen by somebody, a long-term career individual, actually a Republican, Rod Rosenstein. And we've got this system set up. The president says there's nothing there, yet he continues to, at least on press reports, think about firing Mueller, may have already even tried to pull the trigger a couple of times. And on top of that, Judy, you have this president going off and making these kind of ad hominem attacks against the integrity of everybody at the FBI, everybody at the Justice Department. That gets us into very scary times, in my mind, where people start choosing which laws they want to follow. So my Republican colleagues have said, if Mr. Mueller was fired, that would be the end of the Trump presidency. I think we ought to go ahead and reinforce that by passing this legislation.
Well, I'm sure you know, Senator, when that law came before a committee last fall in Congress, scholars were divided over whether it's constitutional for the Congress to do something like that. You've got a number of Republican senators who are saying right now it's not necessary because the president himself is saying he doesn't plan to fire Robert Mueller.
Well, if there's one thing we've found from this president is that he is unpredictable. And saying one thing on one day doesn't mean it'll be his position the next day. And over the last number of months, he has clearly tweeted against Mr. Mueller's investigation a variety of times. His allies have gone out and attacked the Justice Department, attacked Mr. Mueller. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. The fact is, now, while there would be in this legislation the ability to, even if Mr. Mueller was fired, to have him take it to court for 10 days, let's just preclude all this and put something on the books that would protect this individual in this investigation.
But, Senator, the majority leader in the Senate who controls, I guess, what comes to the floor, Mitch McConnell, is saying he doesn't plan to bring this to the floor.
Well, I'm disappointed by that. I'm disappointed in a time when there appears to be broad bipartisan support, and I know the Judiciary Committee was going to mark up this legislation. I would hope that the majority leader would reconsider that if it comes out with a big majority out of the Judiciary Committee. Again, we're in unprecedented times. In my lifetime, I'm old enough, I was in college here in Washington during the Watergate era. Even during the Watergate era, I don't remember, a president so broadly attacking the whole FBI, the whole Justice Department in these unprecedented ways, reinforced by allies and reinforced by certain news networks, where I think people are starting to question whether rule of law is going to stand at this point in time. That's why I think this investigation, regardless of where it ends up, is so important to be protected.
And in fact, the NewsHour, in collaboration with NPR and the Marist College, has done a poll that's coming out just now saying that the public's confidence in the FBI is starting to slip. But what I want to ask you, though, is about the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. The president, there's also been speculation about whether his job is safe.
Right.
Republican congressmen have gone to see him in recent days to say he may face impeachment proceedings if he doesn't turn over documents related to the origin of the Mueller investigation. Is he safe in his job?
Well, Judy, I believe that firing Mueller or Rosenstein would create a constitutional crisis. I think history would then judge all of us. I believe that some of the president's allies are frankly trying to simply intimidate Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, a career professional, politically a Republican, just as Mr. Mueller is. And this is part of this, what appears to me, at least, as somebody who follows this very closely, a campaign, wherever it's orchestrated, to undermine Rosenstein, undermine Mueller, undermine the FBI, and that puts us in uncharted territories.
Finally, a question or two about Mike Pompeo, the president's choice to be the next Secretary of State. You supported him to be CIA director. You voted for him. You have not said yet whether you'll vote for him in this new position, but where does that stand right now? Does it look like he will be confirmed?
Well, Judy, I think that's still being actively discussed, but I feel under no immediate pressure to rush to a decision. At this moment in time, choosing the next Secretary of State and acknowledging almost every Secretary of State of a president has been approved is a really weighty decision.
Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, the Vice Chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy.